Pokemon centers are the most universal places in the entire Pokemon series. It's very easy to spot anywhere on the map, especially with that red roof building that has a Pokeball logo, which is why almost in every game the trainer lands on a Pokemon Center when they fly to a location. Let's go to all the Pokemon Centers in every single Pokemon game. Starting off with the classic first generation. This particular one was a primary place to show how a Pokemon Center would work, and of course the lady that heals our Pokemon up. She didn't look too much like Nurse Joy at the time, but she did have a Chansey next to her in Pokemon Yellow. The game didn't have color, but there's a noticeable sign that says Poke. The Pokemon Center only has one floor since a cable club is to the right, which allowed players to link with each other with wires that were old-fashioned. The PC box though was all the way to the right, even the plants and couch were closer to the door, which is kinda weird. Also, the Generation 1 games included Pokemon Centers that weren't in a town, like on the outside of caves Mount Moon and Rock Tunnel. By the way, this was not used, but this is a Pokemon Center signpost for the Safari Zone resting house. Heading into Pokemon Gold and Silver, the outside looks the same but there is color. A cool thing is the roofs are different depending on which town you're in, as well as the colors. The inside of the Pokemon Center added this heavy pink floor. Also, another floor was added, which is new. The second floor does have a cable club once again, but there is also a time capsule added onto it, which is cool. It allowed players to trade from Pokemon Red and Blue, but it wasn't in Pokemon Heart Gold Soul Silver. And the time capsule was unavailable until the player met Bill in Ecruteak City, so it wasn't unlocked in the beginning. This Johto Pokemon Center looks much more smaller than the first ever Pokemon Center, but there is a second floor which makes up for it. Jumping over to Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire. Now there's a lot of changes added onto the center. Obviously the first thing we notice is the Pokeball tiles in the middle. There's also more chairs and a table for the first time. The tree decoration does return, which reflects the tropical aesthetic of Hoenn. The music theme is refreshing too, and we see this pixelated map in the corner next to the PC box, which is a nice detail. All the Pokemon Centers from Gen 1 to 4 had a slogan that said, "Heal your Pokemon," but only in Ruby and Sapphire and Emerald, the slogan is changed to "Rejuvenate your tired partners," so it's very unique. The escalators added instead of stairs gives a nice mall type of feeling, and either Pokemon Coliseum or Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness can be linked with on this upper floor. The Pokemon Center in Firered and leafgreen almost looks the same, but lots of things were rearranged, like adding flower pots instead of those huge Pokeballs. There was also a network machine which was run by Celio, a good friend of Bill. To get this, players had to enter the Hall of Fame and obtain both the National Pokédex alongside the Rainbow Pass. So it is a rare thing to see in the Pokemon Center. This machine was a jumble of connecting from Ruby and Sapphire, Coliseum, and XD all combined. Oh, what's that? Another floor in the Pokemon Center, now being the basement. It does have the same features from the Gen 3 games, only now Diamond and Pro players can link with others around the world using Nintendo Wi-Fi connection. Also, the first time where Pokemon Center music changes whether it's the day or night. The night theme is so relaxing, I get drowsy when I play these games late. If you were to get the VS Seeker from Don or Lucas, which is around the beginning of the game, a new mechanic would be added. Trainers that will usually add Jubilife TV in Diamond and Pro can be found roaming in the Pokemon Centers. Their teams grow stronger as the player progresses through the game. Their locations do vary depending on which day of the week it is, but here's the list. The reporter and cameraman are always found together in the same Pokemon Centers. For some reason, Idol Grace can't be found on Wednesdays, but that team looks crazy. Pokemon Centers just got a lot bigger in Heart Gold Soul Silver. Not just from the staircase, but the Wi-Fi Plaza is amazing. If you don't know what it is, it's just like Pokemon Sun and Moon's Festival Plaza. This feature was also in Pokemon Platinum, by the way. Players can make puffins, play minigames, and even ride on cool float balloons. There was also a man near the PC box that gave secret eggs, depending on which phrase you entered. The Pokemon inside the eggs would either be Mareep, Wooper, or Slugma. Pokemon Black and White is the game that transformed Pokemon Centers forever. The Pokemart is merged with the Pokemon Center now, which is way more convenient than having to go back and forth. All the multiplayer aspects do stay the same, only now there is a feature where you could view the playback of recorded videos. So you could see the past battles that you've done. To the right, the globe could actually be interacted with. It's pretty odd, but it shows the location of all the people you traded with in the past. Does this guy look familiar? He appears in any Pokemon Center very often when you are qualified for a medal, like walking 5,000 steps or saving the game 10 times. It's very good that they added stuff like this in Pokemon Black and White too. I always like collecting these medals. While on the subject of Gen 5, did you know that Nate and Rose's mother used to work at a Pokemon Center? She mentioned it during an extra receiver conversation that she spent time working there in Nimbasa City. Let's shift to Pokemon X and Y. The acoustic guitar playing in the background is a very nice touch. Where it was normally a place for healing Pokemon or shopping, now there's a changing room installed. There's even a TV. The Pokemon Center went back to the traditional one-floor design, and there's a special gift this time. If the player were to walk in on their birthday, the Pokemon Center lady surprises you with confetti and wishes a happy birthday. It's also in Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire too. This Pokemon Center almost looks identical to the original game, and the shopping mart also got removed. At least the hot springs are connected with a Kecleon hiding inside of it. There is a particular strange Nurse Joy spotted at Battle Mason, which was like Battle Subway at the time. She speaks totally differently in a funny way. So is this the real Nurse Joy? The Pokemon Center music in Sun and Moon couldn't get any more refreshing. Walking in here feels like turning on an air conditioner on a summer day. We have the usual Pokemon Mart, which gets better as the trainer beats more of the Totem Pokemon trials. A whole new edition of the Pokemon Center Café is placed here. Once a day, after a drink was bought, we would receive Pokebeans and items from another region. These include status condition healing items like Castelia cones from Unova or the old Gato from Sinnoh. I'd have to say I really like this new cafe because the Pokebeans raise the Pokemon's affection, so this is very useful in battle. Many times, because they ate Pokebeans, they would dodge moves and land critical hits. Let's rewind back to the Kanto region. As we're in Generation 7, we can't forget about Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Just like in Pokemon Yellow, the Pokemon Center lady stands next to a Chansey. This time she looks very much like Nurse Joy. Overall, this place looks very bright and this song is a soothing remake of the first Pokemon Center theme. It's pretty comforting. If we look closer, the poster to the left has another Chansey in it, possibly the same one. And the first book on the shelf has a clear picture of berries, while the second book has a bottle, possibly cola. There are also many trainers in this Pokemon Center that help you out through the journey, like this ringleader here that teaches special moves to either Pikachu or Eevee, or an old man that trades an Alolan Marowak for a Kanto one, or even someone selling a Magikarp. Pokemon Sword and Shield's formatting of its Pokemon Center seems to resemble Sun and Moon, but there isn't a cafe. Instead, there is a guy named Jack, providing tons of services. Don't forget about Indeedee. They have Move Deleter, Move Reminder, Memory Girl, and Name Raider. In the older games, these had to be found in separate houses. Now it's all in one place, which is very efficient. The Pokemon Sword and Shield director did mention that Galar Pokemon Centers are inspired by taverns, which was common to the UK. He drew this early concept sketch while he was traveling for interviews. Everyone turned Mini in Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, but the whole Pokemon Center looks exactly identical to the original game. Now the floor is shinier, and the global room did return as well. There's obviously no Pokemon Center in Pokemon Legends Arceus, due to the fact that it's more traditional and less technologically advanced. Players had to go back to base camp every time to heal up, which was a lot of work. However, there is a lady that looks like Nurse Joy in the Galaxy Hall, possibly the ancestor of Nurse Joy. Unlike in all the previous generations, this Pokemon Center in Scarlet and Violet has no building. It resembles a gas station and is directly accessible from the overworld. We've got the classic nurse lady and the Pokemart guy. The Pokemon Center also can be interacted with backwards if you talk to them on both sides. The TM machine is a brand new thing the game created and I really like it. The concept of collecting specific things like Cupchew fur and Scatterbug powder combining into one TM is pretty cool. Additionally, it helps whenever you wanted a certain move, but couldn't find it anywhere on the ground. To top it off, Pokemon League representatives can often be found at Pokemon Centers and would give rewards for beating a certain number of trainers in the area. In the Teal Mask DLC, the Pokemon Center gets even smaller. There's just one umbrella with a Nurse Joy, no Pokemon Mart, while in the Indigo Disc, there is a healing machine with no nurses at all. What is your favorite Pokemon Center? Let me know in the comments. Me personally, I like the Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire one because it's just like the original game, but it's much more detailed and 3D. And I like the music theme too. If you haven't already, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss our next adventure. Until next time.